Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Thursday, October 16th, 8:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the Bubbles Stock Market Show, Open Edition. I woke up late today. I woke up early around like 2:30 a.m. and I couldn't get back to sleep until like 4:30, so it made my get out of bed time for the total day a little behind schedule. So I'm looking at this stuff for the first time. We got the stock market still attempting to recover from last Friday's big drop. So the longer it's taking for the price action to get to the point of where it dropped and stay a little bit or a lot above that point, the some indication of strength is being communicated there. So we have 1/4, the Russell right here, that has uh, yesterday broke the resistance that it was against, and today starting opening above that resistance, well above that at the 25.25. But that's not happening over here on the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, or the S&P 500. Gold still making all-time highs. Silver as well, but pulled back a little bit. Bitcoin trying to come back, but getting really close to this low of at least a month. Oil still kind of going down, and volatility is elevated from this big spike on Friday. You see its volatility is still in the upper 50% of this move. So we're on the futures, we're still hanging out between 20 and 21, which is considerably higher than where it was down here around 17 to 18 and a half or so. Then let's take a look at some after hours action. Where can we pull that up? Right here. Let's change this over to, it's going to be in a different order, but it will show us anything. It's a different order, and it is not what I'm looking for. There we go. Anything after hours. That's what I want. So now we're looking at 1 day, 1 hour. So this was Friday. The dark in the kind of grayish area is trading since the close of Wednesday. Did I say Friday? Sorry about that, but I meant Wednesday, yesterday. So I know I've kind of gotten accustomed to looking at all of these in these small little windows, and I can kind of, tell where they're at or what's going on. So the stock market, let's say S&P 500 via SPY, it got to a high up here, and then sort of in the mid of where it was at. Here's the low, high of the day, low of the day, and kind of in the middle range. It has been trading for almost all night. Going into this morning, it started moving up towards the top of this limit. If this is any indication to us, it's going to help kind of be poking to the upside. However, our volatility is kind of floated down, but now it's kind of rising. It's sort of sticking around this $20 area. Looks like we're going to get a bit of a move up on service now, which I have a short strangle on this with right now my which I am definitely not advocating for you to place this trade right now because I placed this. I began legging into this on Monday, which was able to give me a much better fill price. Like because of now we're in Thursday, you're missing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're missing 3 days of of theta premium built in. So now we've had 3 days of theta premium leave on the short dated. It's going to expire at the end of this week, but I've got currently I've got short call at 970 and short put at 850. Now sometimes I roll those closer or roll those a little further depending on what's going on. Sometimes I just leave them as is because I don't really want to disrupt my buying power or I don't feel like the juice is worth the squeeze type of thing. So that's where I'm at right now. You can see the 970 isn't even in this window, either is 850. But as long as it stays in between those two prices, I will profitably expire these options, and I might be rolling down and up. I might roll the short call down to get closer to the money, see if I can get some more premium if it's worth it. And I might roll the short put up closer to the money for the same thing to see if I can get some more premium to see if it's worth it. Crowd doesn't look like I'm going to be putting a short strangle on crowd this week. Bitcoin, IBIT via BTCI as well. Bitcoin kind of sort of just going sideways right at the moment. Tesla kind of doing the sideways thing. Coca-Cola more on the down, a little bit more downish. ASTS kind of sideways to down. ASTS, Tesla, Palantir starting to move up a little bit. These three, this one right here, that's moving sideways. FCX kind of moving sideways. We talked about Coca-Cola. OKLO, Oklo, same thing, kind of moving sideways. Mo kind of moving downward pressure, but it's basically been going sideways. It looks like it could break to the downside. Gold still kind of just steadily moving up. How far is it going to move up? Who knows? But going back as far as like I think 2009, 2010, I can't remember, but I do remember several years ago, Jim Rickards talking about 10,000 gold. So, to say to if anyone is saying like, "Oh, I don't know where this came from," that anyone, and unfortunately, even if it's you, you really just haven't been paying enough attention. That's really it. Like, I'm sorry to say that. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's the truth. And I'm not saying that because I've been paying so much attention. Look, I have not caught every move in the market that was a big move that if I would have been paying more attention to, I would have caught. I haven't been positioned to catch it, and that's just how it goes. Like, how did these earnings reports come out this week without me knowing? Because I wasn't paying enough attention. There's so much stuff in the stock market. At some point, I think it's beneficial, especially kind of in the beginning, to narrow your focus to become really aware of a few things that you can fit into your life and you can capitalize on if you try to know everything. But this is a pretty big one. It was the whole debt based, macroeconomic, government based type of argument. So how far is it going to go? We'll see. As long as money keeps going in, it's going to keep going up. Hood, maybe we'll have a bit of an update. What looks like in before hours trading? What looks like it could have a bit of a spike? Now this one might have a bit of a spike, but I would say like if it gets back to this 922, it's going to be pretty good. However, right now there are cases where if this would not really fit good for a one share into a one share gang type of portfolio because you could buy a lot of other shares for 912 bucks. But this is an example of buying one share. I think there's a good chance that if things keep pressing up a little bit, either today or within the next 3 to 4 trading days, let's say probably by the end of the week, if the market is kind of going up, I wouldn't doubt it if we see ServiceNow go and touch this $20 area here. Now, if this was a $12 stock and you bought one share for 12 bucks and it went up to 20 and you sold it, you make $8. If you would have bought two shares, you make 16, and then keep doing the math. You can do the math out. But these small moves, don't necessarily underestimate them in regards to paying your electric bill or paying your putting gas into your car. If you can make 20 bucks here, 10 bucks there, $8 here, 15 over there. If you're kind of making these small amounts over time, they add up. And what really adds up is your experience and your understanding and your ability to be more productive in the stock market. So take wins wherever you can take them. The other thing that's more complicated, but what you could look at doing if you found something like this, let's say something a little more, where is it in a more reasonable price, not a $900 stock. ASTS tends to do it, but it doesn't look like it's doing it right now, but doesn't mean it won't. Palantir maybe um, at least moving on top of these moving averages. So let's say Palantir is not as bad. You buy around, if you can get it around 180, it's probably going to hit 185 sooner or later, or sell a little early, leave a little meat on the bone, and go from 180 to like 184 or something. $4. If I think again, if you are really focused on, well, I only made $4, then there's a chance that if you focus on the outcome, you might not get as many outcomes as you want because trading and investing, it's kind of counterintuitive. So if you focus on the process, how do I make money? How can I capitalize on a $4 move? How can I capitalize on a $12 or $8 move? Because once you consistently are buying one share, two shares, whatever, you're buying low shares of stock and you're consistently noticing chart setups and you're able to get a $5, a $10 move, a $12 move. When you start adding options into that, because the option is basically giving you built-in leverage. So if you had a $5 move and you bought an option that was sort of closer to the money, let's say over here to Palantir. Now, definitely, this is not financial advice. This is really just education. I'm not doing this trade. I'm not putting enough time into this, the proper time, as if I wanted to do the trade. I'm just giving you a quick example. So do not mimic this because you'll probably end up losing money. Don't mimic it exactly, but mimic learning how to use stock options in combination with your $5 move. Let's say you bought this after hours or so, whatever, during this time. Even if it's not during this time, you bought it yesterday down here. It's sometime in this low, thinking sooner or later it's going to get back closer to 185. I think you're right. So let's say we buy it at about 180. So we're looking for roughly a $5 move. Or let's say you bought it at 879. You're going to sell at 874. Like this kind of a perfect, more of something real picture perfect. All right. And so then you go in here to, not in there, go to where is our option chain. Go to the option chain. Now, these parentheses, these are days. How long do you think it's going to take to happen? I think that with ServiceNow, I think it could get to 920 in one day. So if I thought that Palantir could get to, which technically it could, it was just up there yesterday, could get to around 184 today, then that might influence someone to think, well, I can just buy a 1 day option. That probably wouldn't be the greatest idea. Or an 8 day option. That's better than a 1 day option, but you're really, really falling victim to the theta decay. When I first learned about buying options, there were not weekly options, and it was like you're looking for like 3 months to go long. So down here. Can you get away with something less than that? I have, but I was getting out really quick, and also I was willing to lose my 100% of my option premium when I the few times that I did this and I didn't buy enough time. So I just kind of went into it knowing that. So let's take a look at 3 months. So now you're looking at closer to around $2,000. Let's just let's put it at 2,000. So you're going to have an outlay of 2,000, which is considerably more than one share. But look at this, delta is 55. Now there's another element called gamma that would make this calculation more accurate. And in fact, we could do it on the risk profile. That would probably make it the most accurate. That's going to be adding in gamma. But let's just go with a calculator. So at the moment, where our in at the money option is giving 55 delta, which means for $1, when the underlying stock moves $1, the value of this premium should move up about 55 bucks. So if you bought it for 2,000, if it moves up $1, you should be able to sell it for about 2,055. Now, if it moves up, if we're looking at a $5 move up, $5 times $55 per dollar. So you're looking at about a $270 increase profit. You're looking at roughly right around there. Now it's probably going to be a little bit more because of maybe gamma, how delta starts increasing. As you can see, like see how delta from here gets bigger and gets smaller over here. This, if this goes up $1, this strike will become in the money, so it won't be in the black side anymore. It's going to be in this green or whatever color, purple, blue side. This is, so if that happens, right, that is what happened over here. Now you see you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like $5 ago, this one was probably around 55. Now its delta is 74. So another thing that you could do instead of buying right here, you could buy deeper into the money. You could buy so far as down here at the 160. You're going to pay more. You're going to pay around $3,350 for it, but your delta is now 75. So if it you started with about a 75 delta and it moved up about $5, you're looking at a profit of around 375. So you're paying a little more, but you're going to get a little more of a profit. And that is, it's definitely more advanced from buying one share and having a one share, accumulating a portfolio with one share. But eventually, that's where things could go. So sometimes it would make more sense to buy. Maybe it would make more sense to buy $1,000 worth of stock, $2,000 worth of stock, or maybe it would make more sense to buy one call option. There's a lot of different ways to do things. It's really a game of what what different combinations and blends can you put together, which means if you know your original ingredients pretty well, it makes it easier to match them up with other ingredients. There's that part too. There is that part, and then there's also a certain amount of just timing the market. So sometimes it's a mixture of that. And what do we got going on here? Live news. All right, live news. Anything? The market's really not moving, so this is probably going to be. Nonetheless, this is gonna keep moving. This yesterday I was talking about there's a bubble in news headlines. There's a bubble in news. There is an overabundance of news. They will people making news will make take some news that's probably not too newsworthy, and they'll try to give it a facelift because that's what they do. They make news. That's how they make money. They gotta keep pumping out new news. So anything, I'll kind of periodically check that, but I guess one reason why I really gravitated towards Phil Grande is I've never been like a real. It's not that I don't like the news, but I've never been. I've more been a person that um, I'm more independent, and I want to make my own determination and decision. And so when I heard Phil Grande talk about like, you don't need to look at the news. You can live in a cabin in the mountains and you can look at charts and you can make money. I was thinking like, wow, I don't need to read all these the suspect opinion and try to figure out who's pushing a narrative, who's just reporting the facts, and is there even people just reporting the facts in 2025, or is everybody narrative pushers? So I gravitate a lot more towards the charts. But something that we should take a look at here together, see if I can bring this over for you, is sort of like the news, but it's actually the events of today, the calendar of events. Anything, I don't see any of this stuff being a really big market mover. However, again, because for most of my time learning how to trade, I've been much more chart focused. I'm only in the last X amount of months of my life am I becoming more, I shouldn't say months of my life, but yeah, X amount of months of my life where I'm taking a real, get myself in the habit of looking at everything that's coming up and trying to be aware of it. What am I going to do with it from there? I don't know. I'm hoping the awareness will clue me in on something. Is there anything else that we should go over? Today is, let's take another look at the calendar. Tomorrow, anything? I think we already went over the past during the week of Powell speaking and known things that could disrupt things. But it doesn't, it doesn't really, doesn't matter because there's always can be something unforeseen, unknown that grabs you. So with that, let's have a great day in the stock market and I'll get back with you guys in the closing edition.